Hey there, it's Erin, and I've got some exciting news. We are actually all getting excited and preparing for the latest Salgado to arrive. If you don't know who that is, that's actually Rachel, who is our podcast editor. If you subscribe to our emails, you then remember her from her awesome weekly emails that recap the podcasts that come out. So Rachel's been our right hand woman for years, and she's welcoming little Isaac into the world, who will join his brother Ian. And so we thought is a great opportunity. One, we want to give her a breather. She needs maternity leave. She needs to walk away from editing. But we notice how many new listeners, or maybe even old listeners, go back and listen to old episodes. And we've got like 200 episodes. So it's just amazing when we look at our statistics, how many people scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and go even all the way back to episode 1. So we thought this is a great opportunity to sprinkle in some of the best, most listened to episodes that people just love, that they keep going back to, that also are probably, a year plus old. And so we want to make it easy too for you. So you don't have to scroll and scroll and scroll. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this podcast from the vault.
And then I cared, and I wasn't expecting anything. I really wasn't asking, I'm only doing this because I want to get an offer. It wasn't really what I was doing it because, I was so bored with toddlers. Like, what else are you going to do? I was like, I have to keep my brain functioning. And I love finance, and I love business, and I love, women in the workforce. Like, these are things that, didn't just happen to me. I've always been passionate about pushing all of those ideas forward.
Welcome to the Because podcast with Erin and Nicole.
Wait, are we recording?
Yes, this is our intro. So we've been friends long enough to basically go from idiots to executives.
And then we got fed up with the fake working world, the rat races, and all the parts of our lives where we needed a costume to cope.
So if you're in, drop the superhero disguises and the photo filters and join us as we explore and empower authenticity everywhere. Everywhere.
Hey, Nicole, did you know that I actually have free stuff to help people with their careers?
Is that like the free tough love career flogging that you give me every week on the podcast?
No. Yes, but a little bit nicer, a little more organized, and probably a tiny bit more helpful. My favorite is a free video course I call Unstuck Yourself.
Well, who doesn't want to get unstuck, Erin?
Yeah, exactly. So anyone can sign up just by simply going to beauthentic.inc/unstuck.
I am your number one fan. I'm there already. Unstuck me, girl.
Hey, everybody. I'm excited to be back with another super cool interview. You guys are going to love this. I'm here with Erin Lydon. I think it's like our fourth Erin on the show. I'm not discriminating. And Erin is the managing director of Poker Powher, spelled Powher. And you are going to be just so blown away when you learn what they are doing to use the power of poker to help women in the workplace be more confident and have those skills that they need to really thrive. So welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
So we were talking before this, and you were kind of giving me a little bit of snippet of you. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you and what you do and sort of how you arrived at Poker Powher?
Absolutely. My career started just out of business school. So I did some work before business school, but I went to Northwestern, went to Kellogg, was very late to the game of doing finance, which is what I ended up majoring in, and had to really scramble to get a full-time offer with one of the investment banks. When I went to Kellogg, I thought I was going to go into healthcare management because I'd been working at a large medical facility. But then I learned about finance, and then I learned about, look at all these guys who are going to go make all this money. I think I'm going to make a career choice that's a little bit different. So followed a bunch of men into finance, worked on Wall Street for a number of years. And what I like to say about that time in my life is I worked on Wall Street when pay was secret and pregnancy was hidden. And that's not okay. Not 20 years ago, and definitely not today. I ended up leaving the workforce to raise 2 daughters. I found it very difficult to manage children at home when they were young, a very, very busy career with lots of travel. And I was actually a terrible wife too. So I was kind of failing on all three fronts. So took a pause, raised my girls, and then about, almost 10 years ago, went back to work, first as a board member for a public company and a private company. So really working in the strategic space for some small companies. And then joined actually a company called Evil Geniuses as their strategic advisor. EG is a legendary esports team organization now. It's actually quite a big company now, who competes in lots of different esports, including Dota 2 and Valorant and CSGO and League of Legends, of course. And then from there, in February of 2020, so literally 3 weeks before COVID hit, I took on the role as the general manager and managing director at Poker Powher.
Let's just go back for a second to, first of all, not just that you had this big career on Wall Street, but you just kind of glazed over something that I want to slow down for a second. You decided to leave to raise your children for a while. And then you said, I just came back and I was first as a board member on a public company. That's a big deal. I mean, board membership in general is hard. And we know it's even harder as a woman. And as a woman that just had been out of the workforce for some time. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because
Absolutely.
That's inspiring.
Part of my role when I was working in banking is that I developed very close relationships with founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs. And I will say, one thing I've been good at almost my whole life is networking and keeping up relationships, particularly with influential people. Even once I paused from, full-time work, I was continuing to have those conversations, those dialogues, always had a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, always reading The Economist, not taking myself out of the game, even though my priorities at that time were my daughters. Through that networking, I was given an opportunity to work as a director. Public company was very small, and the startup that I was also the director on was also small, but it doesn't matter the size of the public company, there are still all the obligations and responsibilities, and I was very, very involved in helping guide that company. What I can tell you is that I have continued those relationships, and that's actually how the door was opened at Evil Geniuses as well as at Poker Powher. I'm always selling, even when I'm not selling, I'm always selling.
No, I think that's so important because I think, this concept of networking, sometimes can feel a little bit awkward and daunting. Mm-hmm. I also think a lot of people, I don't want to generalize women, I think people in general tend to do it when they need something, right? We all know that's not the time. Before we get into the poker thing, but I'm just curious to go one more level on this. You're out of the workforce, you don't have a specific job. What does that look like when you're reaching out to your network and continuing to stay engaged? Are you serving them? Are you asking questions? Are you just having coffee? I'd love, what are a couple of things you did and tips that you give to people, whether they're in the workforce or taking a break?
It made sense for me at that time to just what I would call give a lot of free advice. So listen, reach out to my network, find out what problems they were solving, what was kind of keeping them up at night. And then without really being asked, I would just respond with emails. I'm very sort of methodical in how I think through things. And so I just, numbered points of, this is what I heard. Have you thought about, this is what I was thinking. I don't know how many of them got read or really, were they just tossed to, the trash pile. But it showed that I was, in touch with the problems that they were facing. I had some good ideas, or at least ideas that, might be worthy of further discussion. And then I cared, and I wasn't expecting anything. I really wasn't asking, I'm only doing this because I want to get an offer. It wasn't really what I was doing it because, I was so bored with toddlers. Like, what else are you going to do? I was like, I have to keep my brain functioning. And I love finance, and I love business, and I love, women in the workforce. Like, these are things that, didn't just happen to me. I've always been passionate about pushing all of those ideas forward.
So how did you come into Poker Powher? Was it the same sort of thing, relationship?
Yeah,
it's a little bit about how that came about.
Yeah, I'll be honest that the woman who founded Poker Powher, who is also the founder of Peak Six, which is a large investment and technology firm in Chicago. So her name is Jenny Just. And she told me about Poker Powher in her kitchen, Christmas 2019. Seems like a long time ago now.
Are you related?
We're not. No. We're not related at all. And when she first told me about Poker Powher, I'm rather outspoken. You don't really know that yet. But I said, that's a terrible idea.
Nobody would invest in that.
That's crazy. Think about it. I mean, and at the time, Poker Powher at that point was really just getting, off the ground. And we were focused on teenagers and college students. And for a whole lot of reasons we can get to later.
What was she? She was like, Erin, here's what I'm thinking.
Here's what I'm doing. This I'm so excited about this. And Jenny's a visionary. She has so many fantastic ideas. And then she looks at her network and she looks at, all the amazing people at Peak Six to help her execute on them. And that's really how Peak Six functions is, the core bread and butter of that company is equity options trading. But everything else that's going around it, and they've created 15 companies and operated 15 companies over the years, 24 years they've been around. They're serial entrepreneurs at every level, the micro level, as well as, very, very big billions of dollars in companies. So I told her that was a terrible idea. And as is her way, she just sort of mulled that over, just kept talking to me. And then she says, okay, if you think it's so terrible, then you can run it. And I was like, oh, shit. I don't know how to play poker. So the first thing I had to do was figure out how to play poker, because you can't really run a poker company and not know how to do that. But secondly, within 3 weeks, we hit COVID. And honestly, that could have just really killed the whole idea, because at the time, we were delivering poker lessons with live female teachers that we were flying around the country. They were sitting in conference rooms and sitting in people's kitchens and teaching the game. That obviously came to a very abrupt halt in March of last year. And we had to pivot to create a virtual model of teaching this game. And it took us a few months. It doesn't sound like a long time, but we were working really, really hard to come up with a curriculum, figure out Zooms, breakout rooms, find more teachers. I mean, there were so many operational components to moving this company online. But by July, we were fully up and running. We were doing our first corporate events, which was really the direction we decided made the most sense. And we will forever teach young women. We so strongly believe that, 16-year-old girls need to learn this game. But right now, we are primarily focused on women in the workplace. Whether you're on the first rung or the top rung, you can benefit from poker.
So talk about those benefits, bridge the gap. I'm sure everybody that's listening, much like me, says, oh yeah, right. Like, but immediately it's also easy to think about, but poker's about bluffing, i.e. lying, and it's about you winning and somebody else losing. So there's also, like, I could see the confidence, but I also can see the negatives. How do you guys see the translation? How do you talk about it? What are the bridges?
Yeah. We think about poker as, at its core, it's a simple game. The rules, I can explain rules pretty quickly to you. You can play a few hands, get the hang of it. So it's a simple game that really is a game changer. Whether you're, it doesn't matter your gender, you're going to benefit from the game. But specifically what we talk about at Poker Powher is, number one, it is confidence, because there really is this force field around the poker table. And whether that poker table is in your basement, and it's really kind of a no girls allowed space, or it's in an opulent casino in Monte Carlo, women aren't sitting at those tables. And the reason we're not sitting there is because we're trepidatious. We don't know the rules. We have stereotypes that are quite negative about the game. We aren't sure how to play. We hear the bluffing, as you mentioned. Most of us aren't very good at bluffing. We would say we're good at bluffing. It actually sounds really inauthentic. It's not really a strong female characteristic to be a liar. We're thought of as being much more emotionally intelligent, and we don't do that. We do teach you how to bluff, but we also teach you strategic thinking and quick decision making and computation and risk assessment. And those are skills that every leader has. And they're also skills that the boys, when they're young, they're learning those on the playing field. They're practicing them in the classroom when they shout out the answers, and the girls are being diligent and we're either not raising our hand or we're just writing it all down. We haven't had a lot of practice at those really key leadership skills that you can learn through practicing this game.
Hey girl, what's up?
Well, this weekend I put aside watching Bridgerton, episode 5, in order to binge on your new book. What does that tell the world?
Well, that's pretty sad. You need to go back and watch that episode. But yeah, the book is out. You Do You-ish is out on Amazon, and I am blown away by the feedback that I'm getting on the book.
You-ish is awesome because You-ish finished this project in a super timely manner and delivered us something that is delicious, devourable, funny, easy to enjoy, and it's practical, and you get a lot out of it. Maybe not as much as Bridgerton episode 5, but it's pretty good.
Pretty close. Well, check it out, guys. More stories about Nicole in there, more fun, more inspiration. You can simply go to Amazon and search You Do You-ish.
Enjoy.
So tell me about, can you give an example of maybe one of your students? And I know you guys are still kind of new, but you have several clients. This is not just you're out there, you're doing this. People are bringing you in. Those leaders that like to think outside the box and not check the box. Tell me about where you've seen somebody transform, like either micro or macro from the game of poker.
Yeah, I'd love to give 2 examples. So we now have 20 teachers who are all at varying degrees of poker expertise. Some are poker pros, so they're professional players. That is their career. Others just love the game and are very good at the game, but also are very good at teaching. One of our teachers actually started as a student for us, and she was a college student. And she came to the game completely unaware of poker, never sat at the table. She became a student of poker, not just of Poker Powher, but really studying the game. And I would say 95 of the women who come and play with us have never sat at the table. And so we really focus on a curriculum for novices. However, because of the expertise in our teacher pool, we can take you all the way to Vegas. If that's where you want to go with this, we can get you there. And Abby was one of those students that she studied the game. She played in all of our daily community games, which are really just practice games from what you're learning lesson over lesson each week. And then she became a teacher for us. And it's so exciting to see this transformation of, I didn't know anything, and a year later, I'm now teaching this game to other women. So really paying it forward. In addition to that, she will be joining Peak 6 on the trading floor. Peak 6 has a phenomenal women's in trading program where we bring young women into the business to learn how to be traders. There's very few female women who allocate capital that are actually making the decisions around capital. And this female trading program allows them to do that. That goes hand in hand with poker, because one of the things that Abby was perfecting is her bankroll management, thinking through the numbers, making positive expected value decisions. All of those skills you practice with every hand. Even when you fold your cards and you spit out that hand, you're making a calculation and an analysis. Depending on where I sit at this table, do I play it or do I fold? On the other side, we have many women who have now started to come to us who have really diverse backgrounds. The second one that I'm thinking about is actually a retired U.S. Marine. She's also an attorney. So you look at her bio and you're like, this woman's already pretty kick-ass. Like, I'm pretty impressed. But she too had never played poker. She started learning with us in February. And like many of the women who come to Poker Powher, it clicked. It clicked because, one, it's really fun. The game of poker is fun, and the guys already know that. It's great networking and team building. It's also so empowering when you start to win your first hands. Like, you beat 8 other women in a game, and you're going to feel pretty awesome, and you're going to want to have that feeling again. So this was Gina. So Gina comes to us. She is really practicing the game, coming to all of her lessons, picking out all the little skills and tricks that we teach. And she actually went on to play in some online games where she was winning in charity poker tournaments. That's a huge accomplishment 3 months later from just learning this game. All of that translates into the decisions these women are making in their workforce. So, they're going after positions that maybe they don't actually have all the qualifications for, but suddenly they have the courage to do that. They're raising their hand, for promotions, and they're sitting down with their managers and having tough conversations for raises. And those are things that we see the confidence build at the table. We talk through the skills you need to be really successful to accelerate your career. And then the women are going and doing it. And that's what we want to multiply across. We're in 13 countries, so we're touching a lot of women right now. We're doing corporate events almost every day. And we just want to continue bringing this really amazing game. And it's ironic I'm saying it, but I am now fully supportive of every single person wanting to play this game.
I love it. And it's it's just a great example of bringing metaphors to life. right? Like I just believe in the power of storytelling, and I'm always, telling some sort of analogy or metaphor to sort of make a point. And what you've done almost is you've actually brought a metaphor to life. And I'm sure people have said somewhere, some way, like, oh, negotiating your next deal is like playing poker, or, I'm sure those metaphors, but you're actually sitting people in the metaphor and having them sort of live it out real time and do that translation, which I absolutely love, because I hate normal and anything that's check the box. So I love it.
I think so many us, men and women both, we have the opportunity to do professional development, whether we choose to do it on our own or we do it through our companies. And so often, because I've been through a lot of those, is that you're hearing really good things. They bring great guest speakers, you're seeing some cool videos, and you sit there and you absorb it all, but so little of it is actually actionable. Like when women are told, well, you just need to be more confident. The fuck? How am I supposed to do that? Like, actually tell me how to do that and implement that step by step. That's where poker is a solution, because you are going to gain that feeling of confidence that's going to benefit you in the workplace, but you're going to do it in hand after hand after hand. I can't think of a lot of other really tangible, quick to learn, fun to play types of games that are going to have such a direct translation to the workplace.
Yeah, I love it. Of course, obviously you're doing it focused on women and professional development. I can't help but think of some of the, executive teams I've worked with and how much I'd love to see a game, men and women, and see who comes out the winner. I think that'd be really, really interesting. Now, you do these corporate events, but all of our listeners, right, they don't want to necessarily wait for their company. I'm hoping that they sign Poker Powher. Do you have individual programs or also, and what are some things that our listeners could do on their own to start to experiment with this?
So yes, you can certainly come to us with a company partnership. We love those, and we'll bring a customized program right into your business, either virtually, or we're actually now starting to do some hybrid programming, because we want to get back in person and be with real people. But secondly, if you are an individual or you have a small group of friends or colleagues who want to play, it's very simple. Get on the website, pokerpowher.com. And in the upper left corner, you'll see lessons. You click on lessons, and we offer our beginner lessons at the beginning of every month. So we just started our June lessons. This month, we're offering them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, various times. You sign up, you're enrolled, you get the invitation onto your Google or your Outlook calendar. And our basic learning opportunity is 4 consecutive weeks. Each lesson is 1 hour. So it's really bite-sized. You can squeeze it into your day. And we spend half of that time teaching you the basics of poker, giving you very actionable steps so you can feel successful the first time you start to play, and then making the translation to how the skills and strategies are going to matter to your career. We then spend the second 30 minutes playing, because what we know is that if I just talk to you about poker, it's not going to land. You're not going to get it. You're going to lose interest. You actually have to get playing the game. So everyone plays on a poker app that they've put on their tablet or their phone. We put one teacher into each of our Zoom breakout rooms with each of the 9 students. So it's intimate, it's interactive, you're getting immediate feedback on your hand play. You're not going to feel overwhelmed. We make sure of that you can feel really positive about the game. And you're going to have the same group of 9 women and the same teacher throughout your lessons. Our total curriculum is 12 weekly lessons. So you can go really far with us with Poker Powher. And then we have advanced lessons and we have private tutorials. So we can really take you from newbie all the way through your learning journey.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you this. You're this badass Wall Street woman. You took a little time off. You were pitched this idea. You were skeptical at best. What's the, avail to us, maybe you've told people, maybe you haven't before. What's the one biggest thing that strategic thing that you've done now being, a poker player and understanding the strategy that's helped, the business, your career? Let us in a little bit on how maybe it's transformed you.
Yeah, that's a great question, which I haven't been asked. because I'm always talking about how it's benefiting other women. For me, I think I would go to one of the poker moves that we teach pretty early on, and it's called checking the pre-flop aggressor. And what I mean by that is you get to a point in the game where some people have folded, some people are still in the hand. And it comes to you and you're following the action of someone who they've done a raise or they bet. So they've made an aggressive move at the poker table. And in poker, aggression is a positive word. And that's one of the things we talk about in our classes with women is don't be afraid of this word. This is actually a good thing. It's being assertive at the poker table. And I am by nature an aggressive player. Like I tend to bluff, I tend to raise a lot. I like to play this game. Even though our teachers tell me I have to fold 80% of my hands, when I'm playing aggressively. The check the pre-flop aggressor move means that you're tapping the table or you're tapping the app, and you're not making a move. You're still in the game, but you are not raising or calling. What you're doing is gaining more information. And that is such a critical move in business is you can pause. You don't actually have to have the answer right on the spot. You don't have to return, as you're negotiating, you don't have to respond immediately. You can pause and gather more information. So in that move of checking the pre-flop aggressor, you are in a way asking more questions, like show me more, let everybody else go around the table and see what they do. And as you see the action around the table, you gather the information to make your own decision in that hand. I find that is every single day. It's whether, I'm working with my colleagues at Peak Six, within Poker Powher. I spend a lot of time talking to, external parties, negotiating our contracts. Those are all really key environments to know how to check the pre-flop aggressor.
I love it. So good. So good. Well, this has been great, Erin. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so glad that we were able to meet. And I know you mentioned you have these different offerings. Where's the easiest place for them to go if they want to learn more about Poker Powher?
PokerPowher.com. We have a great website. You can sign up for lessons, immediately. You can watch this fantastic sizzle reel, which will give you the chills about why poker matters. Check out our press that's already on there. And just check us out. Even come to a lesson and see everything you might have thought poker is. We're probably going to be able to flip that table for you and give you a different perspective.
Oh, I love that. Well, we'll link it on our show notes. It's Poker Powher, POWHER, with Erin Lydon. And I am so excited to hear from our listeners. I'm guessing they're going to absolutely love this episode, this concept. I really do believe I've always been think outside the box, not normal, shake things up. But you know what? Thinking post-pandemic, if you want to go back into your company and do the same shit different day, think again, because it's not going to work. And that's why I love what you're doing. And the more we can find these creative solutions to flipping the table, to use your term, the better. So love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey girl, I cannot believe that we have recorded over 50 episodes from the virtual couch every week, but we don't make any bank. We're doing this for the love and not for the money.
Yeah, can I be honest? I kind of thought we'd kill each other by this point. So, resident do-gooder, what can people do to help us keep going?
Well, since you asked, a couple of things. One, you can rate or review the podcast on your favorite app. That would be awesome. You can subscribe and get us in your favorite podcast app feed weekly. Also awesome. You don't even have to look for us. But most importantly, share the love. Let people know your virtual secret. You're hanging out here and you're getting some virtual work-life therapy and everything in between. Invite a friend and expand their virtual universe. And the reason why? Because it's bold, it's badass, and it's basically better than drinking alone.